Well, we thought it was going to be a great World Series. It's not.
It's been one that it's got plenty to talk about, but so far it's 3-0. Not overly competitive.
Yeah, and it's a bummer, right? This had the making of a classic, just on paper, the way the two teams kind of met here in October, and it's been a classic beatdown by the Dodgers, totally dominating the Yankees. And the best player in the series has been Freddie Freeman. And Chad, Aaron Judge is expected to be the Freddie Freeman of this series, quite frankly.
And this has become a disturbing trend. This is the norm now for Aaron Judge in the postseason. He's played in 15 postseason series so far. And here's what everyone knows about the New York Yankees. Just ask any Yankees fan you know. Whatever your team is, if it's anyone that's not named the New York Yankees, you are at a championship deficit to the Yankees and that Yankees fan. Every Yankees fan I know, they'll be quick to tell you this. We are about championships, world titles, winning the World Series, not getting to the World Series, not American League pennants, not division titles. We are about World Series championships. This is the New York Yankees. We make our players cut their hair and trim their beards because we're the New York freaking Yankees. 27 World Series titles. New York Yankees. They're about excellence. They're about winning. Any Yankees fan will be quick to tell you that. Well, then where does Aaron Judge stand in all of this? Because there is no denying his talent and his production in the regular season. But Aaron Judge is currently 1 for 12 with 7 strikeouts. He's batting .083 in this World Series. And through 15 postseason series, the guy's batting .196 with 15 home runs and 31 RBIs. His WAR is way negative right now compared to an average Major League Baseball player once he gets to the postseason. I'm not going to call the guy a choke artist, but he's got a postseason problem because he can rake home runs at a record clip in the regular season. And the guy is allergic to hitting when it comes to the postseason. And that's a problem. There are plenty of great athletes who had terrific careers, Hall of Fame careers, and Aaron Judge is in the middle of one right now. Plenty of guys that had those careers that did not win a title. But most of those guys that we consider legendary still had legendary performances and just couldn't get over the hump with their team. Charles Barkley, that's a guy you'll bring up that never won an NBA title. Charles Barkley, though, in 1993, he was the league MVP in a year where Michael Jordan was playing in the league. He averaged 27 points per game and almost 15 rebounds during the playoffs. And he gave Michael Jordan and the Bulls everything they wanted through 6 games. They lost. They came up short. It wasn't because of Charles Barkley. The Yankees are losing and down 3-0 in large part because they have a gaping hole in their lineup named Aaron Judge. That's not good. And Hutton, I don't know what his legacy is going to be if this is going to be what he's going to be in the postseason. It takes one great performance to turn it around. We know that about baseball. And this guy is terrific. But, man, it's been tough to watch throughout his career in the postseason.
I mean, his legacy will be he's terrific, or was terrific, but won't be remembered as, the Mr. October.
A Yankee legend.
Or Mr. November. It's not going to be the front page headline when it comes to this time of year. It's more about June, July, and August and the chase for 50. That's unfortunate, at least for right now. I still think the guy is going to get his. I mean, he's too good. He's too good. And I think it matters too much to him. I don't think he's just the guy who gets paid and then doesn't show. He's not Manny Machado.
No, but he needs to get going. He's also not Giancarlo Stanton on that attempt to run home last night, which was brutal to watch. Derek Jeter batted .308 in the postseason. Now, that's Derek Jeter, right? He's the captain for a reason, and he's known as a guy who's incredibly clutch at all times. His teammates could do a lot to help him bail him out also, and they haven't done it, right? There are plenty of guys who've had bad postseasons that have won a World Series because guys went nuts around them and had great postseason series or pitching was great. All those things can happen. You bat once out of every 9 spots in a baseball game. We all know how it works. But it's been difficult to watch because he's so excellent during the regular season, right?
Yes.
If he didn't set the bar so damn high, which he does because he's awesome, then I wouldn't have to say things like this about him. But he's still, I mean, you're right. He's got plenty of time in his career to turn it around.
Yeah, and it's, the other part of it, too, is the Yankees nation, they do point to the 27. That's the number. If you want to brag about your team winning the World Series, it's like, oh, well, talk to me when you reach 27. It's not just Judge that won't be in that category if they don't win. It'll be the entire this era for the Yankees that won't be remembered in that same fashion. Where it's like you're one of the 28, right? That's the other part of it. And Judge would be at the top of the list of not getting over that hump. But at some point, that's the storyline moment of his career.
We had Nick Turturro on last week to talk about it.
Yeah, what do you think he's doing watching that game? As amped up as he gets.
Oh, he's not happy, I'm sure, watching that last night. I'd love to get a live stream of his reaction to Stanton getting thrown out at the plate in that moment. It would have been fun to watch. So the longest drought in Yankees history of not winning the series, Turturro talked about this, 78 to 96. So 18 years. They're at 15 and counting right now. So unless they reel off four straight wins here.
Winning. Yeah, right.
Yeah, winning. I'm talking about winning a World Series, not getting to a World Series, but winning a title. The longest gap since baseball existed was 18 years.
That's
scattered
crazy.
over those 27 titles. And after this season, they'll be 2 away, 3 away from matching that drought.
But, I don't know why. I just see the storyline being the longest championship drought in Yankees history. It's ended with a memorable ending to Judge's career, or whatever it might be. I would bet on Judge getting one more than I wouldn't.
I hope for his sake, too, that he gets one and he is Aaron Judge for an entire postseason.
Yeah,
right? He doesn't revert to someone who's not what he is for the majority of his career.
Yeah, and I hope, just for the, again, I don't pull for the Yankees.
Yeah.
Right? I pull for Aaron Judge, which is rare if you don't like it's not like I don't like the Yankees. I just root for the other teams that, are looked down upon from the Almighty.
I feel the same about the Dodgers. I mean, I think it's any team that just spins through the nose on talent. Naturally, we like an underdog. You don't always root for Apple and their success.
That's true.
It's the same reason I don't root for the Yankees or the Dodgers, and I think most fans in America probably feel that way, but everyone's got a pick here between the Yankees and the Dodgers. There are plenty of people who don't like Ohio State, Michigan, or indifferent to it, that they would pick a side.
One or the other.
Time. I mean, I would still go Dodgers over Yankees in this series.
Yeah.
But it's not like I'm, oh man, this upstart Dodgers organization.
Right.
I feel great for all these guys. I do feel great for Freddie Freeman and the series he's having.
And that would also be rare.
Yeah, good dude. And
if he leaves your team, and again, I know they replaced
a great professional hitter is Freddie Freeman in every way, and a great pro.
Exactly, just a straight pro, and a great person. You can't root against him. Judge has done nothing in that category either to not want to root for the guy. So
right.
But again, I often think when you get down to 0-3, this doesn't feel like the Red Sox series.
Yeah, I just
right with the Yanks.
I think that Yankees fans are exceptionally loyal to their belief that they are superior to everyone else in baseball. They are loyal to their superiority complex. So if Aaron Judge, again, we're speculating here. They're not going to win this World Series. At least it doesn't look like it.
No.
But if they don't win a World Series the next 5 years, and Aaron Judge is a big part of all those teams, and then his career ends or he goes somewhere else, I just think the way Yankees fans even look at Aaron Judge will be, that dude was basically there for the entirety of the longest championship drought in franchise history. So while he was awesome in the regular season, there's going to be a lot of talk from Yankees fans about he's not what we aspire to be, which are champions. That's who they are.
Yep.
And how they see themselves.
I often think down 0-3 what we'll see, too. Like do we see Judge actually have a breakout performance, but the Yankees still lose.
I mean,
right? Again, and also imagine this. I think the result would be the same if they were playing the Mets.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, this is more about the heavy hitters for the Yankees more than it is what the Dodgers are doing, because it's also happened in the past.
It takes four great games.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at it in the context of a Major League Baseball season, that's such a small sample size, but that's what it is. It's getting really hot, getting great pitching on four straight nights.
Season. Yeah.
4 straight
You're
nights,
right.
and you're world champions. It's been done before. I'm watching a docuseries on Netflix about the 2004 Red Sox on the 20-year anniversary of what? Coming back from 3-0 and being the first team to ever do it and winning 4 straight to beat the Yankees. The Yankees have seen it on the flip side. So if you want a little hope, Yankees fans, it's happened before. Hell, it happened to you. It can happen again.
And we'll talk more about it with Michael McHenry.
Yes, we will.
Coming up later in today's show. Quarterbacks being benched has happened before. It happened today. Joe Flacco is the new starting quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts. Anthony Richardson heads to the bench. And it's the right move. It's the right call. I saw headlines earlier today saying that it was a shocker. The Colts announced a shock, or report a shocker through ESPN. It's not a shocker to me. Based on what we saw on Sunday, Anthony Richardson tapping the helmet before a third down snap because he was tired. He was exhausted after 3 straight running plays from a running quarterback who, I mean, I've never seen anything like that from the quarterback position. Neither had Ryan Kelly, one of the captains, the center for the Indianapolis Colts, who said that, we talked with him and said that there's a certain standard that wasn't met by doing that criticism it was going to come, and that it was, warranted, and it was a tough look for the young quarterback. Players are going to speak without even really having to step up and say something within the organization. But when they do speak out through the media, like Kelly did, and he wasn't taking shots at Richardson, he was just telling the truth. Well, it's not like Shane Steichen and Chris Ballard, their general manager, didn't know the same thing. And regardless of how Steichen handled the postgame presser, where he's protecting his QB and saying all the right things, behind the scenes, the right thing to do is to let Richardson sit and watch a veteran go to work. And now Joe Flacco has an opportunity to do it for the second time in as many seasons. Take a team that's right in the middle of being okay at the middle part of the season and take them to the playoffs. He did it last year with the Browns, albeit the fourth quarterback that started. He came off the couch and ended up taking to the playoffs. And now, in his 3 starts, he's 2-1. Flacco. He's thrown 7 touchdowns to 1 interception. Compare that to what Richardson had been doing even before the tap out in a divisional game in the third quarter, a game that mattered, and a game that in that moment speaks volumes for leadership, accountability, and a position that really brings the confidence meter to wherever it's actually going to balance out for the entire organization. Richardson didn't meet that. Flacco does. And the players know it, the coaches know it, management knows this, and it's clear that the Colts are doing this in order to make a run at the postseason. They're a game out of the playoffs currently. They're 2 games back of the Texans, and they just set the quarterback who's completing 44% of his passes and has thrown 7 interceptions to 4 touchdowns on the season with a veteran quarterback that, I mean, at worst, is going to throw an interception or 2, but isn't going to tap out in the third quarter of a very impactful game moving forward. They're doing the right thing, not just for the team this year. I think it's the right thing for the quarterback that just was told to hit the bench. He can learn from this. He's got a veteran in front of him. He's got former quarterbacks that are coaching him, or quarterback coaches that are coaching him now as the head coach in Steichen, who did this with Jalen Hurts. And, I mean, it's also what I think a lot of teams around the league should take a look at. The middle pack of the NFL has been destroyed by misses at quarterback. Misses used to be Winston and Mariota. That wasn't that long ago. Now misses are Anthony Richardson and Will Levis. That's a huge drop-off between the production level in the college ranks of those duos compared to each other. And look what we see. Bad quarterback play and quarterbacks that have no business being thrown into the mix currently asked to step up and do it in order for coaches and general managers to keep their jobs. I think it's the right move by Steichen and Ballard, but it's also, it's a ballsy one too, because they put their jobs on the line drafting Anthony Richardson, number 4 overall, and then they released that video a couple of years back where they're all in on Richardson way before the draft even got there. So here we are, a chance to sit and learn for Anthony Richardson, where he gets to, not get tired in the middle of a game, but actually learn in the middle of a game. Here's hoping he does that, because he's got all the talent in the world. He just needs to develop. And he gets to do it while he watches a 40-year-old quarterback take his team to the playoffs potentially. For the second straight year, the Colts aren't great. They can be much better than what they are. And much better would mean they're in the AFC playoffs. Props to the Colts for doing it instead of just being like, let's just develop the quarterback and see what happens next year.
Hutton, you mentioned Mariota and Winston. That's an interesting comparison with those two, because those guys were great college football quarterbacks that had a ton of success with their team.
Yeah.
Anthony Richardson's team never really experienced a bunch of success. Will Levis's team did experience some.
But Richardson didn't even play,
but went down the next year, right? Both their careers, you could say, were defined by inconsistency with potential.
Yes.
No, so it does make sense with Winston and Mariota. They're still in the league. They're backups that could be elevated to a starter at any time because of injury. But their career floor was always way higher than Levis and Richardson. Higher floor, lower ceiling. I'd say for both those guys.
I should put Bryce Young in there too, but again, he had more success.
Right. And I would still say, but with his size, it's a little bit different. But Mariota, Winston, higher floor, lower ceiling, higher ceiling, way lower floor for Richardson and Levis. We're seeing the floor for both those guys. I maybe Anthony Richardson comes back from this. I don't know. It's tough. When you're tapping out, we're going to talk to Ross Tucker about this. We posted from OutKick. Bobby Carpenter yesterday just completely crushed the guy. This is Bobby Carpenter, who played years and years in the NFL, who said, if your conditioning is that bad, that's a you not being a pro issue.
I just don't buy that,
if you're having to check out.
I don't think it's conditioning.
Well,
the dude's he runs a lot.
Then any explanation is
he's rushed
unacceptable.
41 times for 252 yards and a touchdown this season.
If he's checking out because he's mad or because
he's
upset,
checking out because he's 10 of 32.
Well, that's also unacceptable, because if you're the quarterback and you're checking yourself out because you're saying, I can't get the job done, that's not good either. The writing's on the wall for Anthony Richardson, in my opinion. He does have talent, and maybe he shakes this off and comes back. I want to turn the page, though, to Shane Steichen and give him full props for this.
Yeah.
Because yesterday, when I'm hearing this from Anthony Richardson, I'm thinking, this is a dead man walking coach because he lacks accountability with his team. And the next day, he comes back, and the report is that he's going to start Joe Flacco. He's listening to his football team, but more importantly, he's listening to his own conscience, because it's going to tell him, I probably should bench the guy who tapped out because it was going tough or because he was tired. And he admitted to being tired after the game. That's a good sign for Shane Steichen. It really is. I'm awaiting word that Brian Callahan has fired special teams coach Colt Anderson. That would be a good step for Brian Callahan and the Titans organization to show some early accountability. And sometimes accountability is saying, I screwed up by hiring someone, and it's clearly a problem, and I got to make the correction, or at least attempt to do something. So kudos to Shane Steichen. To me, that's an encouraging sign for him that this is happening.
Yeah, and look, it doesn't take this is an easy call, but also listening to the locker room. Think about what the optics of what Anthony Richardson just did. Now rewind 2 weeks ago, where Michael Pittman, the report was he was going to IR for a back injury, and then the dude shows up in Nashville and balls out and catches the game-winning touchdown against L'Jarius Sneed. Like that is the type of leadership that you want and the mindset that you want. He didn't tap out in that game. He didn't go to IR. And, Ryan Kelly's saying, it's criticism's headed Richardson's way. And, maybe it's deserved, but it's not the standard that we want to set. And that's coming from the offensive lineman, not the quarterback that's leading the team, right? Like, they clearly don't want to just mail it in. And if they didn't make this move, Chad, the players would have been told that the coaching staff and that the front office was just mailing it in for next year, right? Like, that's the message.
Yeah, or the other
players know.
And the other lesson is, or the message would be, we're being told we got to stick with the young quarterback because we got to continue to develop and see what we have at the cost of wins.
Or not being told
to the team.
We're telling the team our jobs are on the line if we don't develop this guy, right?
Exactly. But either way, you're telling your team,
right,
wins are less important than the development of the quarterback and what ownership tells us to do with the quarterback.
But
and when they get that lesson and that message, it's tough to come back from that.
And ultimately, winning's more important, period, with any owner, I would say. You've got Flacco on a one-year deal. Let him do it again.
Well, winning is more important, but they're in this situation to be an owner saying, I don't think we can win regardless, so I want to see what the quarterback has. And that also is a damning statement
no doubt,
coming from the ownership suite of saying this team can't win.
Chad, did you know that, when's the last time you heard the word spaz? Been a while for me. Someone just using that in a sentence.
That's a great question.
Like, this guy's a spaz. I mean, maybe high school, college for me. Have we ever said? I don't think we've ever used this.
I don't know that I've used the word, but I mean, I feel like I've heard it. If someone says it, I know what they mean.
Same. If they say it, I don't think twice about it, right? Awful announcing did whenever they heard it from Tom Brady. Here's Tom Brady discussing Josh Allen in commentary on Fox.
He loves it speaks so much more than just the physical ability of a quarterback. You really began to take that total ownership of the team as a leader in workouts in the offseason. How you communicate to everybody and integrate new players becomes a great challenge for a quarterback like Josh, who has really lit the league on fire since he's been in. Sometimes he played like a spaz, like a grade schooler on a sugar high. But now he's controlled the chaos. He's like a storm coming into town, and you don't want that storm coming into this town.
Oh, I like it. It's like a movie trailer.
I mean, I like that too because I hear Tom Brady improving on the broadcast. I like what I just heard from the analysis there. And he's not wrong. I mean, if you go back to the first year for Josh Allen and the knock on him coming out of Wyoming, all the inconsistencies with accuracy. Again, you hear that. I don't think you think anything about it here in the States. Apparently, it's an offensive slang term used in the UK. Used as slang terms for someone with disabilities. I hear that and I think clumsy, right? Like I think.
So now
I think awkward or a klutz is another word that comes to mind. But Awful Announcing hears that and they write a column about it.
So now we have to worry about what's offensive in the UK. We're in America, people.
Right? Yeah.
Okay. I want to read directly from the story here. It's a term that has been deemed wildly offensive in the UK because of its history as an ableist slur for people with disabilities, especially cerebral palsy. I didn't know that, first off, but again, we're talking about the UK here. We are in the United States of America. The term isn't considered quite as offensive in the US, but it's still meant as an insult to describe clumsiness, stupidity, or physical ineptness. I got no problem with it. I didn't know about this UK meaning of it.
Yeah.
And now are we supposed to know what every word means to every nationality? Am I supposed to refrain from certain words that offend the Swiss? I don't know how to go from here if we're going to make a federal issue about everything that might offend someone in Liverpool.
Yeah, I wouldn't know what those words are.
Who the hell cares if it's
But
offensive
also,
in the UK? We're in the U.S. They also go on to say 2 years ago, Beyonce removed the word from her song Heated after receiving criticism from disability activists. Lizzo, you didn't know this, Hutton, similarly had to change a lyric. She had to change a lyric or she chose to change a lyric? I'm confused by the wording here. In one of her songs because she received the same criticism.
I mean, unless they're viewing it from the lens of they're pushing everything towards London, the NFL, that's not what this is. And also, you could flip it and reverse this and say, there's a word used to refer to a cigarette in the UK. That's a three-letter offensive term for what is a gay slur here.
Yeah, you can't say that. Can't say that in the U.S.
That's what I'm saying.
You can say that in the U.K.
You could be smoking something in the UK.
Yeah.
But again, like it's where you are, it's going to come across in a different way. There's no way that you can sit there and criticize Brady for using it. And what was, he's telling you in the quote
what it is.
like a grade schooler on a sugar high. That's what he says right afterwards.
Let's also apply some common sense and logic to this, okay? It's all about context and what you're discussing. If Tom Brady, they show someone with special needs on the sideline and he says, oh, goodness, look at that spaz over there.
Right.
That's highly offensive. And he would be getting righteously crushed for doing something stupid like that. When he says, Josh Allen played like a spaz years ago, like a grade schooler on a sugar rush, that's not offensive at all. You're trying to turn something that was a nothing burger statement into something. And if Lizzo and Beyonce want to respond to the woke mob that comes after them that's pissed off about a word in a song, they have every right to do that, or they have every right to say, go to hell, I'm not going to change it, much like Eminem or Dr. Dre or any rapper over the last 30 years has told many different special interest groups to go to hell. I'm going to keep these lyrics in my song. It's their right as artists to do one or the other. I'm not telling them how to handle it.
Yeah.
But it's also crazy to think that what Tom Brady was saying was legitimately offensive to anyone.
Maybe they're changing it on the album that's selling in the UK.
I think even the Brits would listen to that analysis and understand what Tom Brady was saying and not take offense to it.
Or maybe they don't understand it, which is why I'm saying I don't understand why it's offensive. Yeah. They would view it as that. They wouldn't understand what it means here. That goes on across the board with so many different terms.
What do the Norwegians think about the word dumb? That's what we need to find out next from Awful Announcing. I got to make sure we avoid anything. What do the Finns think about certain words?
Is it bullocks or something like a
bollocks?
Bollocks,
which is basically BS.
Right, but like
to the Brits,
we say that here, and YouTube won't take us down.
It means this to a certain group of people in a different country. So now Tom Brady must know that,
right,
and not say it. Even when Tom Brady says it and then explains what the meaning of it is, which is not the meaning in a different country that's foreign to him.
Right. Yes, exactly. Nor is he talking about a European soccer player.
Yeah. My question for Tom Brady is, what does it mean in Brazil? Because there's some activity going on in Brazil that he needs to know about. What are the offensive terms in Brazil? I bet Tom had to know that around Gisele. Doesn't have to anymore, though.
The offensive term for Brady might be just mentioning the baby daddy's name.
The pregnancy?
Giselle's knocked up at 44 years old.
She's
having a child with
she's 44?
Yeah. She's 44.
How old's the jiu-jitsu Joaquim?
I have no idea.
I think is his name.
Joaquim?
Or is it in Brazil, is it Joaquim? I'm not really sure.
I would say Joaquim.
Can we get the Portuguese pronunciation?
Valente.
Can we get Davey to mispronounce the Portuguese pronunciation, but say it with such confidence that he feels like he's saying it right?
Valente.
I think it's Joaquim.
How old do you think this guy is? I'll look it up.
I'm going to guess he's 34.
Okay.
14 years her junior. It's rare that you see a situation where...
didn't he... Correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't they break up because the stress level was too high and the attention?
They did break up at some point. That was a report.
Makeup sex.
May have been a false report. It's also rare that you see the older woman have to produce a child for the younger partner because he wants the child.
He's 37.
Right. A lot of times it's the older man that in the second relationship must provide a child to the younger woman because she's still in childbearing prime and wants a kid.
Yeah.
This is the reverse of that. So I think this is actually very progressive of Gisele to take this role and say, "What if he's younger than me and he needs a child?"
What is?
Did you say 27?
He's 37.
37.
Yeah.
Okay.
What if there's you've got instead of Thomas, it's Tomas, or can you come up with the
please, Hutton. I think Tomas is offensive to the Colombians.
It might be.
Don't say that word.
Or can you come up with a Portuguese name for Tom?
I really need Awful Announcing to weigh in on whether or not that word's offensive.
I would love to know what Brady thinks whenever he saw this or found out.
You think Brady gets this news and is like, for revenge, I want to go have another child with someone else now? Or does he think, man, glad that's not me?
Well, he chose. I mean,
there, but for the grace of God, go I, is what he's thinking right now.
Yeah, well, maybe he's saying that. Brady's not. I don't think.
You think part of the divide was she wanted more kids, and he said no?
Well, she did want
So
more
we have
family
enough
time.
kids?
That is true. And he said, "I want more
A
ball.
lot of things to read into here.
I'll take more football."
All of them offensive to awful announcing. Everything
Yes.
we're talking about right now. All of it very offensive.
Lane Kiffin is offended
He is offended.
that Ole Miss is not going to receive a night game whenever they're facing Georgia. Now, this is not this upcoming weekend, but the following weekend, November 9th. They will have Ole Miss, Georgia will be the 3:30 Eastern kickoff, followed by LSU, Alabama. Baton Rouge getting the game under the lights down in Death Valley in the primetime spot at night for the SEC. Kiffin not happy about it because this is the last opportunity that Ole Miss would have to be under the lights and have this slot.
Announced November 9th kickoffs, 2:30 for y'all against Georgia. So you got 2 morning, 2 afternoon kicks left. From your perspective or coaching perspective, is there any advantage at all to playing day to night kickoffs?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's proven over time in NFL and college. Playing at night in electric atmospheres is a home field advantage, and tough when you got to do that as a opposing team. So that's been proven for a long time. And so who won at night? LSU gets to play at night again, I guess. Shocker. So that's 2 for 2 for them. It is an advantage. I feel bad for our fans, to not have one night conference game is really unfortunate for them, and so whatever. It's just really disappointing, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I really like Kiffin. I'm on the Lane train here. It's not a shocker that that LSU gets under the lights. But I will say, if you want more consideration for this, you got to win these types of games. Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin don't beat Georgia normally.
Yeah, don't lose to Kentucky at home.
They don't win games against Bama. They don't win games when you expect them to be able to jump over that hurdle and actually move past that line of demarcation that has been the definition of Kiffin's career so far. Same thing for James Franklin and Penn State. Penn State's got the most the next opportunity to do what I'm saying. Kiffin's had those, and ultimately it's about the ratings, but it's also about the college football playoff.
This year it's also about his loss to Kentucky. That gives them 2 losses. If it was 1 loss Ole Miss versus 1 loss Georgia in that spot, I bet it's reversed.
Yeah,
because they're both playing for a spot in the college football playoff that weekend.
Well, now
instead Ole Miss with 2 losses, it's Georgia trying to continue to stay alive. So that hurt them also.
They do have a 2-loss Bama and a 2-loss LSU.
Yeah, I'm not saying, but because you eliminate any need for any type of tiebreaker if it's 1 versus 1 loss.
But at least in the LSU, the storylines there are going to be phenomenal. Would I like to see Kiffin and Ole Miss take on Georgia there? Sure. But the time of the kickoff is not going to affect whether or not I'm choosing to watch the game. I understand where he's coming from in the last opportunity of the season for them, but you got to take care of business prior to this, and that's the one thing he left out in what he was saying.
Yeah, it sucks that they play so many 11 a.m. games. I do think that's a disadvantage, right? And there are other programs play every game at night, it feels like, and maybe that's an advantage, or maybe you play so many night games, at some point you want a mid-afternoon game or an 11 a.m. game to mix it up. So maybe that becomes a disadvantage. But when you make this much money, and I hate to fall back on the money of this, a big part of it is the television contract with Disney and ESPN. So you take the money on that for your school, your program. Coaches get paid a ton of money. It's not fair. I'm not disagreeing with anything Lane Kiffin is saying. I would be disappointed and frustrated if I were Kiffin also. But this is the deal you make with the devil when you're making this much money in television contract money. They get to dictate what they want.
Yeah.
And if they want LSU and Baton Rouge at night, that's what they're going to get. And you're going to have to play your home game at 2:30 Central Time in Oxford, Mississippi. That's just part of the deal. It helps these coaches get rich. It helps the schools make a lot of money. And you're giving up the ability to sit and bitch for too long about not being able to play at night. That's the deal.
Yep. And take care of business and play at night in the college football playoff. Again, you've got to do your part on the other end. And,
it's crazy now. For years, all of your non-conference games, the schools could kind of dictate the start time because not everything was always televised somewhere.
Right, yeah.
Or we're going to play it here. If you want to have a streamer carry it or this network, here's when the game's going to happen. Now even those games are all dictated by television.
Yeah. And I will also say the atmosphere at LSU, I understand why you want that under the lights.
Oh, it was pretty cool watching that squirrel run to the end zone in Oxford this week.
I always love the cheer whenever it reaches the end zone.
Yeah.
The best.
I love it when it doesn't step out of bounds. It actually goes to the end zone.
But what do you do? Everyone's like, you want to speed up the process of getting the squirrel off the field, right? Mm-hmm. You've got to get it not just off the field, but down the tunnel. They got lucky that it ran that way. Yeah. Otherwise, can you imagine the circus that would have been trying to catch that thing?
That would have been fun. Animal control out there.
Chad, what do you call
someone from PETA would have complained.
You call a bird a rat with wings?
It's a rat with wings.
What's a squirrel?
It's not as bad, but it's a disease-carrying vermin.
I love it.
I mean, it's basically just a living form of bubonic plague.
A hairier rat.
Yeah.
A tree rat. It's a tree rat.
I saw a bobcat today in my neighborhood.
Did you?
Yeah. A smaller one, but it had the bobbed tail, and it was a bobcat.
Yeah, some smaller dogs better be on the lookout.
It was a younger one to the point where I was trying to see if it was just a cat. At first, I went, nope, that's a bobcat running across the
more
street.
Bobcats in this area. Armadillos are here now. Many more bears. Bald eagles.
The bear thing is troubling.
Yeah.
To me, that now suddenly.
What's next?
It's like in Middle Tennessee's the Smoky Mountains all of a sudden when it comes to bear population.
Lions are next, yeah.
Possibly.
Here.